Hey everyone, this is Fritz Westover with Virtual Viticulture Academy and the Vineyard Underground podcast. I'm in a vineyard in Arizona, in Wilcox today, and I was talking to the vineyard manager and we were looking at this old Cabernet block. How old is this block? How old are your oldest vines in here? 30 years old?
A little over, yeah.
A little over 30 years old. So you can see a big, beefy Cabernet vine. And this vine, as you can see, come on in, it's strong. It's got good, bigger than pencil-sized wood. So if we're trying to develop spur positions here, we have no problem getting a 1-2 bud spur and cutting that right back to some strong wood. You could also see the cane size was about 3 to 4 feet long. So it's pretty easy to go through and just put a 2 bud spur every hand width in here, every position we have. So come on in here. We'll go ahead and we'll leave a 2 very clear bud spur here. We'll remove that one there, and there's our spur position we've been working on. We have a little bit of a wide space, but the idea here is every hand width or open hand, we're gonna have a spur position with good, strong wood. We can prune the vine that way because it's strong, but I want you to see that there's something else going on in this block. We have some variability. These are older vines, so if you come in here a little closer, you'll see these vines have been cut, right? Here's the cut in the back. And they had some bad cordons that were retrained many years ago. So most of this trunk, I'd say 50% of it is really dead wood. So that trunk might have 75% live wood, which is why it's growing so well and so vigorous. But this one here probably has more dieback. So if we tell the crew to just go through and prune every spur a hand width to 2 buds, and this wood is small like it is here, you can see our shoots barely got to 12 to 18 inches. But if the idea is to keep this vine in production, this is where we have to prune based on vine vigor. If they 2 bud everything the same, we're gonna put too many buds on the small vine here, and it's going to produce more small wood, and it's gonna produce small clusters, and too many clusters for that vine to sustain. It's gonna continue to decline. So one thing I like to teach the crew is when they're going through on the small wood, they have to go through, and instead of leaving 2 bud spurs, they may only leave a 1 bud spur, okay? Or a 1 bud spur here. And they'll take out some of this weaker wood. If they've got a spur position they've been working on, instead of leaving a big 2 bud spur, they'll leave 1 bud spurs. And that's the big difference. So if I've got a new position I'm developing there, instead of leaving a 2 bud spur, that is less than pencil diameter wood, we'll leave a 1 bud spur. This is gonna be too small to leave anything with here. So we're probably gonna either take that position out of commission or try to regrow it from a non-count bud at the base. It's not ideal. I'm not showing an ideal scenario. If you want ideal, look at the neighboring vine. This is the vigorous vine. We can go in here, we can cut our spur positions with 2 very clear buds, and that's a very simple thing for the grower to see or for the worker to see. What's confusing is they may come through, like I said, on this older vine that is weak and leave a bunch of 2 bud spurs on this weak wood, and that's going to produce 2 very small shoots. So what I'm going to do is cut these back to just 1 very clear bud spurs and position them still a hand width apart. Does that mean we're going to get less yield on this vine? Sure, of course it does, but this vine is not capable of sustaining the same yield as that vine there. So what we really want is we want less yield on this vine, but with good quality fruit that's going to probably or hopefully ripen at the same rate as that fruit right there. So we're going to 1 bud most of the spurs on here. We're going to 2 bud most of the spurs on here. And that's a difficult thing to train the crew to do, but if you just teach them the rule of wood size and looking at the vine and judging the vigor first, it's going to go a long way. It's also important to show them a weak vine that was left with 2 bud spurs last year only produced 2 small shoots. So show them what the result is and then show them how to fix it, and you'll be on your way to a more uniform vineyard, even if your vineyard is over 30 years old. Okay, so let's see the finished result of the more vigorous vine. We have some 2 bud spurs, 1 bud spur on the weaker wood here, a nice 2 bud spur, 2 very clear bud spur there and there. These are all obviously strong canes that were pruned back to 2 bud spurs, roughly a hand width in between those spurs there. Okay, some good spacing. And then we get to that smaller vine, and then we really only have 1 bud clear bud spur, 1 bud clear spur, 1 clear bud spur there, 1 bud spur here, and then we have a 1 bud spur here. So we're really trying to gain back the wood size. And the idea is that if we put just 1 bud on there, that should hopefully grow into 1 strong shoot that will be longer and better able to support and ripen a full-size cluster. We might even turn some of those into 2 bud spurs next year if the wood does well. Of course, there's other things you can do like add fertilizer if needed, but the reality is if there's a lot of damage on these old trunks, like we see here, you can only push them so hard, and adding more fertilizer may just cause the vine to crash if you overproduce too much foliage and fruit. So balance is key, and this example is how to prune to promote vine balance in a vineyard with old vines with various levels of vigor and lots of variability.